Tales from the wild. Stories from the heart. A journey into the mind and soul of fired-up business professionals where they share their vision for the future. And hear from a different non-profit organization every month as they create awareness of their goals and their needs. Dive into a world of untamed passion as we join our host, Shireen Botha, for this month's episode of Friends from Wild Places.
And do you have different platforms for individuals to work with you, Brian? For example, is it so many sessions, or do you do like business retreats, or is it group, or just go a little bit deeper on that level?
Yeah, sure. So
signing up. That's why I'm asking.
Well, yeah. So I'll be honest with you. It's been, what I've loved about it is because it keeps evolving, right? Like it keeps evolving. So I'll kind of go through real quick. So the first thing is I only offer one program for individuals, and it's called Enlightened Evolution. And I have to tell you, I have to say it's one of the things I'm most proud of what I feel so gifted to put out in the world. And because the reason is because it has truly, deeply, powerfully transformed individuals and leaders in their work. And, there's testimonies of what people wrote. And I love it because I look at the individuals that have gone through it. There have been CEOs of major companies that, were like, I want to do something else. People, millennials, several have signed up that are like, wow, like I thought I was on this track kind of where I was at 30 something. Every time they come in, I'm like, okay, my gosh, I can see myself in them. But now I want to go in another direction. Or there's a sense that they're seeking to have, they're in a role and they want to have deeper clarity. And also personally, there's some things they're trying to work through in that. That program is 10 sessions, and it's one-on-one with yours truly. And it's usually twice a month is what I like to say. We meet twice a month. And all I ask is, we have a session before we begin to have clarity on what it is that you're seeking to be enlightened about. So that becomes kind of the navigation for the conversation. And so we always kind of come back to that. But as the sessions evolve, sometimes that twists and turns. Sometimes I've had some clients, they connect with me because they're highly successful, but they say, I really feel like I want to do something else. And in the midst of working together, a huge opportunity comes to them. And now we start looking at that. When the session 9 concludes, we take a 90-day hiatus and we reconnect 90 days later, because I feel that's where the biggest issues are. There's like programs that end and then there's nothing. So it's a great way to reconnect. I just launched literally out of the gate, and it's called Connect to Clarity Expansion. It's my first intimate group sessions that will begin on April 8th. And it's just 4 one-on-one sessions with yours truly, plus a one-on-one before. And you also have a one-on-one session with me for 90 days after the program. It's going deeper into how to connect to your heart for clarity, how to listen to your intuition, and how to take courageous action once you have some of that clarity. And I also offer retreats as well. That's something I love to do. And my other service is I work for organizations in terms of fundraising. That was my expertise. So I work with boards. I help, especially not-for-profits and their teams, to kind of move from fear to fundraising and really tapping into that.
Interesting. And how long are the sessions? Is it like an hour, 2 hours?
Yeah, no, my sessions are 1 hour. And, having lived in New York City for all the time, like I'm good on time. Like we move it along. It's my responsibility to keep it there. We keep it moving along there.
Awesome. So for the listeners out there, if they wanted to partake in the new venture that's starting April 8th, or connect with you one-on-one for the longer, so to speak, version, either one are available.
Yes. Yeah. You can go to the website at evolution.com. Also, for the Connect to Clarity expansion, it's not on the website. I offered a masterclass 2 weeks ago. Like 52 people signed up for it. It was really beautiful. And my intention was, I'm like, I'm not here to sell you into a program. Like, there's nothing worse that you get like this bait, you go in and then they're like, they do 10 minutes on what they want to do. And then they spend 50 minutes trying to like sell you in at all this stuff. I hate that. I think that's just wrong. So I didn't do that at all for the masterclass. I've followed up and it's available. People could just email me directly at Brian@Evolution or on LinkedIn. I'm having it posted there, and I'm excited about that program. I really am. And it's at a very different price point. I wanted to have it at a lower price point because it's a bigger investment to do the one-on-one, but it's also longer and deeper, and you see the results. But I wanted something that maybe you just want to kind of go deeper. You want to learn. You want to be. There's power in being with other people and listening, and so it's at a different price point too, which is something that's important to me.
Or folks can evolve into the deeper program, right?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, possibly. Yeah, if that resonates. Yeah.
Brian, you did mention nonprofits and how you assist them. Friends from Wild Places, we do support a nonprofit every month. So this month we're going to be taking a nonprofit that you suggested, Brian, that was Access Employment. accessemployment.ca. We will put the website in the show notes for you listeners. But Brian, tell us a little bit about this organization and how we can support it.
So I am really proud to say I've been on the board for 10 years at Access Employment. When I moved from New York City to Toronto, I was looking to offer my volunteer services. In New York, I used to help immigrants and newcomers, help them to just write basic resumes, something I loved doing. And I was looking for something in Toronto, and I was introduced to Access Employment. So I started as a volunteer, and they are the #1 organization in Canada that helps newcomers who arrive to help them find employment. And it's a $36 million organization. Now it's grown so much in 10 years. And I used to do presentations to their financial service component and different groups about how to present themselves when they're going in. They're in a moment of transition. I feel like, I was able to really connect with them. And then they were looking to grow their fundraising. They received most of their support from government and from corporate, but they wanted to grow individuals, and they brought me on the board. And now I have served as chair of the board for 3 years. And my term ends actually next week. And it has been so powerful because I've seen lives changed. And I used to tell them, this isn't just about a job. And that's what I tell the board. Drop your ego at the door. This isn't about having it on your resume. I don't care what role you have. This is about creating hope. And this isn't just about the people who are crossing the threshold coming in to go through a program. This is about the generations that will follow. This is about the hope that's being instilled. And it is just incredible to see so many individuals that receive placement every year, that feel supported, and the staff that is so committed to doing that in such a professional, kind, forward-thinking way that is just so powerful to me. And it's one of the things in my life that I'm most proud of.
Wow, amazing.
Awesome. So could we go and donate on the website?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
One of what I would direct individuals to donate, it's something called the World of Difference campaign. And actually it's a fun story. When I was brought on the board, that was the very first campaign they wanted to try with individual donors. The goal was $10,000. I was like, you're gonna be kidding me. Like, I'm like, that's what you're looking to raise. Anyway, that year we raised 20. This year, the goal is 300,000. It has been so successful in bringing in so many new, community partners, et cetera. And this year it is dedicated, last year was for women entrepreneurs who are newcomers. We've done it on financial health and well-being. Every year has a different focus. We did on the Syrian refugees. And so every year you can read more about what this year will be about. And it's just so powerful.
Wow.
Sounds.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. And for
You're
those that are
welcome.
listening, yeah, it's Access Employment. Please go check it out, see how you can support them. And we'd really appreciate it if you do. So there's absolutely no pressure to do any of that. But that's what we stand for. We stand to lend a hand and inspire and make an impact wherever we can. So if we can change one person's life for the better, then we have achieved our goal. So we have come to the point in the podcast where we're going to play a little bit of a game now, just lighthearted to end the podcast off. I don't know if either one of you have played this game before. For the listeners, it's called Two Truths and One Lie. Maybe? Anyone played it before? Okay, all right. So Brian has put up his hand. So two truths and one lie. Basically, you're just going to give 3 statements about your life, and one of them needs to be a lie, and the other 2 need to be the truth, and the group needs to figure out which one is the lie. So are we all good?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Who wants to go first? Brian, do you wanna lead
The
it?
pressure is on. The pressure is on. So 2 truths, 1 lie. So I was fortunate to be in the 3rd row at Pope John Paul II's funeral in the Vatican. I was invited when I was in New York City to the Beyonce concert because it was one of my clients that had tickets. And then afterwards, we were brought in backstage to meet Beyonce, and I have a picture with Beyonce. And I was invited to the Sesame Street holiday Christmas party where I met all the creators of like the Muppets.
I think number 3 is a lie. Sonia, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with number 3. I'll stick with Shireen.
Right. Brian?
So number 3, meaning that you think Sesame Street was a lie.
Yes.
It's actually true.
No ways.
We get a
Which
second choice? Do we get a second? Okay, well, Shireen, what would you pick for second? Pope John Paul the Vatican or the Beyonce?
Number 2, because we've just spent the entire podcast where he's sharing his entire life story about how he was a priest. So Beyonce is the lie.
Beyonce is the lie.
Sonia,
Yes.
over to you.
Okay. I have 2 dogs. I have 2 church annulments. And I love caviar.
You don't have 2 dogs. Brian, what do you think?
I was going to say the 2 dogs is the lie.
Correct. I dog sit all the time, but I don't have 2 dogs. So yes. But
Very
for
cool.
fun fact, Brian, you could appreciate this as a priest. I do have 2 church annulments from the Roman Catholic Church. I mean, I'm one of those hardcore, like we have to do things by the book.
I get it. Well, it was funny when you said, I was like, 2 annulments. Only someone that really had 2 annulments would know that word. So it was like, that has to, because the average person isn't going to know what the word annulment is. So yeah, I get it. So good on you. That's great.
I have to ask just a random question over here. So I teach like world religions regarding funerals, right? At the program.
Cool.
Okay. So all the different religions, and as many of the religions, and I've kind of evolved into, I want to say I was born and raised Catholic, but more evolved into more like of a spiritual, like accepting and embracing all different religions. So my 2 questions for you. One is, do you have a current practice or spiritual practice that you identify with? And what that may be?
Yeah. So I am like yourself. My spirituality has very much evolved. I would say when I left the priesthood, everyone used to say, "Oh, are you going to join a different religion?" And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I have no interest. I spent way too much time learning this one. I'm not interested. You know what I mean? On that. So for me, I would say I do not go to mass or or church. My spirituality is very much more focused on I have a deep meditation practice, breathing work. I'm very much into energy and tapping into that sense of spirituality and guides around us. And in many ways, I see there's elements of that in Catholicism, and they kind of poo-hoo all that. But I'm like, well, you pray to saints. It's the same thing as, asking for guides and angels. It's the same thing. So for me, my spirituality is much more universal as well. And I had a beautiful experience, like we just talked about saints. It was a particular saint called, you probably know because you're Italian, Saint Therese of the Little Flower. She was very popular, and I really had a devotion to her when I was a priest. And when I left, I kind of stopped. And I was in Colombia a few years ago, and I went to this Catholic church. It was just open. I like going into churches. Like, I still love going into churches when they're quiet. I love it. In Switzerland, I go in all of them. I don't care what they are. I love it. And I went into this one church, and I sat down in the front, and I looked, and there was a statue of Saint Therese. And I got this overwhelming feeling in that moment. It was like, I never left you. Like, I've
Oh,
never
wow.
left you.
Wow.
And so it was so beautiful because it really enkindled that relationship again. And her sign is all about giving roses. That's her sign. She would always give roses. The next day I was with my partner. We went to this florist to buy flowers. We were going to a dinner. And the woman in the back, this is the day after that very peaceful moment with that Saint Therese statue. This woman out of the back came out and she said, I just feel I want to give you these two roses. And one was for Felipe and one was for me.
Wow. Wow.
And it was just beautiful. Like, so for me, I love that. And I think it's beautiful. And I have to tell you, because of your work, Tanya, I loved doing funerals. Like, I have to say, like, I loved doing weddings, but funerals were one of the most powerful. And I think it's that sense of the connection to, why we're here, the transition to the other side. I love being with the families. And so funerals for me were very powerful. And I had good relationships with a lot of, funeral homes because, I was often there. But I think it's very sacred work. Like, it really is. And I know they're trying to bring AI and QR codes to gravestones and all that stuff, but take all that away, it really is, death is about life.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. Definitely. And it's, that's the other amazing thing is like as much of a human experience in worldly possessions and things that people like to collect and buy and purchase and cars and those, I mean, it's all great, but it's like we come in the world alone and we exit alone with nothing more than ourselves, right? So it's kind of like the difference that we make while we're here, So
Mhm.
I really thank you. So Shireen, you're not off the hook. We have to hear we want to hear the truths and the lies from Shireen.
All right, let me do this then. 1, I put out a fire in an overhead stowage on an aircraft in flight. 2, I have bungee jumped off the Tsitsikamma Bridge in the Eastern Cape, South Africa. Or 3, I almost stepped on a python 3 meters long.
I'm going to say the overhead bin.
I'll say
Tanya?
number 3. I'll say number 3.
So the lie is I have bungee jumped off the Tsitsikamma Bridge in the Eastern Cape.
Wow. You got us.
Very cool. Very
Yeah,
cool.
very well done.
And I think, Brian, it's only because you didn't know my history in being a flight attendant. I don't know if I told
Okay.
you that, but
No.
Nevertheless,
Okay.
that was awesome, guys. Yeah, I think this conversation is very interesting, and I love walking into churches myself. I mean, I came back from Spain last September, and that was one of my most favorite things, other than walking through these beautiful historical towns, was just to walk into the churches and just find a little pew and sit there and just look at all the magnificent architects and sculptures and all that like hard work that went into it, and also obviously the spiritual side of things. But that's a whole nother podcast for another day, because Christianity was very much also inscribed into my background, into my upbringing, which caused a lot of problems and also good things. So there's good and bad things there, but again, a whole different conversation for a whole nother day. But I do love these conversations that we're having. But it has come to the end of the show, unfortunately. Let's take just this time to say where we can find you. So Tanya and Brian, just take a few minutes to tell the listeners, if they really have connected with you listening to this episode series, let them just know where they can touch base with you and ask any questions or whatever the case may be. So Tanya, why don't you go first?
Sure. So folks can find me on LinkedIn. I don't have a TV, stopped watching it about 28 years ago. So live on LinkedIn. You can find me there. You can connect with me there. As far as my current work, as I mentioned, I oversee the mortuary program at Miami-Dade College, and I'm a full-time professor. In addition, I call it my blessed work. I'm the matchmaker, and no, it's not a dating service. I actually match people who can no longer live alone with communities in Florida. For example, folks with dementia, Parkinson's, cognitive disorders, or even physical challenge. So I place for assisted living memory care, and actually little casitas. So there's no charge to use us. It's a blessed work that I do. And my tagline, it kind of encompasses all my work. It says, as always, I will be the last one to let you down.
Love that. Brian, what about you?
I welcome to hear from individuals as well. I'm very involved on LinkedIn, so feel free to connect there. Definitely, I just launched Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube literally this past month, which is really fun. I'm having so much fun. So Instagram is just brian.bachand, at Brian Bachand on YouTube, and also the same for TikTok. And I also do a live show every single Monday on LinkedIn called Soulfully Speaking with Brian Bachand. It's just 17 minutes, but I have it turned into a podcast that's available on Apple and Spotify. I just had episode 70 on Monday, and it was all about courage, actually. So it was interesting. We were speaking about that earlier. So welcome to hear from anyone there. And of course, the website, evolution.com.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Brian, for joining us today. Tanya, it's always amazing doing these shows with you. You can find Shireen's bookkeeping services on LinkedIn, on Facebook. But more importantly, the Friends from Wild Places, you can find us on LinkedIn at Friends from Wild Places. We have a website called friendsfromwildplaces.buzzsprout.com. That's friendsfromwildplaces.buzzsprout.com. You have the video version. So if you want to see us and hear us, you can find us on YouTube. Please like, comment, and subscribe. But if you just want to listen in, you can find us on every single live streaming podcast platform there is. You'll find us, Friends from Wild Places. But other than that, to all the listeners, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time. And remember, you got this, and stay wild. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Friends from Wild Places with Shireen Botha. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast from the links to catch every episode and unleash your passion.